So we're going to jump back into Peter Sewell's evidence to the Post Office Horizon IT inquiry and discuss a meeting they had discussing the Kells and peaks we looked at in the last video, where essentially Horizon was losing transactions and that was reporting a shortfall in the Horizon system at the Post Office branches. And it details how Fujitsu took the decision to halt all further Post Office ARQ requests and witness statements whilst they investigated the issue amid the concerns they had over the Horizon system. So this was back in 2008, but we know subsequently prosecutions resumed and that ARQ data was provided in the future as well as future witness statements. So what was the resolution to it and why did those processes start again? Presumably because they thought they fixed it, but what was the solution they came up with? Let's jump into the inquiry.
There is then a meeting held, and I'd like to take you to a note of the meeting. That's at FUJ 001-54824. So the meeting's held on the 13th of August 2008.
Yeah.
Present in the room is Gareth Jenkins, Alan Holmes. Can you assist us? Gareth Jenkins and Alan Holmes, they were both technical specialists.
Yes.
Steve Meek. Stephen Meek
was technical as well.
Yes. And then we have Penny Thomas. And you joined by phone. Is there a particular reason why you joined by phone?
I might have been away somewhere else, another location.
I'm going to read to you a fair bit from these minutes before we take the mid-morning break. I'm going to start with that second paragraph. Gareth Jenkins explained the issue as described in the peaks and Kells listed above, and those are the documents we've just been looking at. An end-of-day process was being run between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m, and at the same time, the user was performing a balancing process on the gateway PC.
Presumably, if that's causing an issue, one of the immediate workarounds they could implement is say, don't do anything between the hours of 7 and 8 p.m. in the evening with regards to Horizon, because it's likely to cause this, albeit what we are saying, rare issue to occur where it can actually create a shortfall in Horizon. Be interesting to see whether that was actually ever advised.
During the end-of-day operation, the CABS process created a lock on the message store, during which time 30 seconds, causing any other messages right to wait, subject to a 10-second timeout until the lock was released.
And that there is a bit of an issue for us, because if you've got a process which can last 30 seconds with a lock, which does seem a long time, but fair enough, could have been writing a lot of data, I guess, but still does seem quite a long time. You can't have a 10-second timeout on your other messages, although it might be rare to avoid this. Your timeout on your messages needs to be longer than any conceivable normal lock would last in terms of the normal operating process of Horizon. So if we're saying 30 seconds is normal, it would have to be above 30 seconds, otherwise this issue is going to reoccur.
The balancing operation attempted to write messages to the message store, but this operation timed out and the messages were discarded. Due to a deficiency in the implementation of the counter code, the end user was not informed of the failure, and the transaction, the balancing operation, appeared to complete successfully.
The best technical solution to this here wouldn't even necessarily to be notify the user that was an issue. That would be the second best option, to say, look, there's been an issue here, but that's still prone to mistakes. Next best option would be to queue these messages while the lock's in case, and then record them, write them immediately afterwards when they could gain a lock.
So in essence, the sub-postmaster wouldn't be aware of the issue.
I don't think so, no.
Yes. When this type of error happens, Riposte records an event in the event log. It was said that this type of error could happen with any type of transaction. He then quotes the words that we've already looked at from Mr. Barnes. So the record of the minutes records that detail. And then it goes on and says as follows: when this error condition occurs, the message is discarded and no gap is left in the message sequence numbers. The messages that fail to be written represent auditable events/transactions, and this throws the credibility of the message sequence number check used to prove the integrity of data provided to the post office under the ARQ service.
So essentially with that, it sounds like what's happening is, transactions, I think we've seen before, they've got a Horizon unique identifier, but basically in any database system, each record or row table needs some form of unique identifier, which in this case, and a lot of cases, will form a uniquely generated number. And what you'd expect is if a message wasn't written, that there could be a gap in the message sequence numbers. So say I've written message 1, 2 and 3 successfully, message 4 was caught up in this error, so was never written. The next message will be message 5. It'd be easy to identify there is a missing message. However, it all depends upon when this unique number is assigned. If it's assigned during the write process and that fails, rather than a pre-process beforehand to assign the message, then essentially, because the write process times out and never actually runs, it never assigns a number to the transaction that's been discarded. So it just looks like there is a continuous number of messages, 1, 2, 3 and 4, even though in reality it's actually 1, 2 and 3 are correct. 4 was a message that was discarded, and the 4 that's recorded in the database is the next transaction to be written, therefore not making it immediately obvious that there is a missing message in the message store.
Question is, should any of these errant messages have been included in data returns, and under what other circumstances could this type of failure arise? Pausing there, did you see this as a significant potential issue?
Yes. Yes.
It then goes on to say the discussion then focused on the way forward. It was agreed that we needed to understand what types of transactions have been subject to this error. To do this, we needed to retrieve all of event logs, filter the riposte error messages, and analyze what was found. Only event logs from the 8th of January 2003 have been retained due to a previous retention agreement with the Post Office. Just stopping there, so because the data was only retained for a certain number of years, any, for example, ARQ data from the rollout of Horizon, so 2000 to 2003, by this stage would no longer have been held.
Yes, I think that's right.
And I believe previously, I mean, it seems like this might stretch back further than you might expect. So I think we've seen previous evidence which shows they have a data retention policy of only 18 months in terms of the logs.
And over the page, at the same time, we needed to consolidate all of the ARQ outlet and timeframe data requests into a single Excel spreadsheet so that ultimately any relevant errors found in the event logs above could be compared to ARQ data provided to the Post Office for litigation purposes to confirm the integrity of the data provided. This exercise can only be carried out from the 8th of January 2003 for the reasons that we've just explained.
Yes.
We cannot provide any further ARQs until this exercise is complete, as the audit server is being fully utilised, retrieving the 5.5 years' worth of event log data. So at this stage, 5.5 years of data was being gathered for some sort of analysis.
Yes, looks like it, yeah.
We must question whether it's advisable to provide further ARQ data or witness statements until we have a process in place to fully validate our returns. So do you remember some concern within the team at this time about witness statements and data that was being provided to the Post Office and the reliability of that data?
Yes, as a result of this, yes. Yes.
So it does seem at this point they are at least trying to figure out A, what's going wrong, and B, saying we should hold on future requests at the moment and witness statements until we've resolved the problems. It'd be interesting to see what the conclusion of this process was and what the resolution was, because it seemed that there were still issues with data integrity after prosecutions and civil cases were resumed after this was investigated.
It was agreed that the process of retrieving all of the available event logs would be carried out and would start immediately. A sample would be provided to Stephen to review. Also, the consolidation of the ARQ requests would commence, and that's a note of this meeting. We're going to come to what happened after that, after the mid-morning break. So, if we could stop there for 15 minutes and return at 11:45, please.
Certainly.
Thank you very much.